Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
I'm Mitch Laggy. Wondering what to do with your old alive Christmas tree now that the holidays are over? Well, there's a couple spots in Billings and in Yellowstone County that you can drop them off to be recycled for a good cause. I'll bring you the story coming up.
The snow and cold can spell trouble for our four-legged best friends. Coming up, we'll tell you how to keep them safe from the elements. And 2 more people will soon be $1 million richer. Get your tickets out. The Montana Millionaire numbers are in. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, we kick things off tonight, of course, with the cold. The good news, temperatures in the teens today, a bit of a heat wave compared to yesterday, where we dropped to 12 below zero. Now, Q2 Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh joining us now. And Ed, a little bit warmer today, but we're still not into the safe zone yet.
That's for sure, and it's going to be a while. Jeanelle, let's go ahead and take a look. This is where we started off this morning, as cold as 33 below for the major reporting stations. Havre was the chilliest. We were at 1 below in Billings, which actually compared to 24 hours ago was quite a rise. But this afternoon, we have seen some recovery in the temperatures. Compared to where we were 24 hours ago, most of the temperatures, single digits, teens to even 20 degrees warmer than it was yesterday at the same time, but we still have a lot of wind chills to deal with, and that's going to be the story overnight. We'll talk more about the rest of the week's forecast coming up.
Well, this recent cold snap, a challenge for everyone, but it can be especially dangerous for our furry loved ones. Here's Q2's Alina Howder with some important reminders.
Like humans, animals are vulnerable to the cold winter weather. It's important to remember these tips to keep your pets safe from the frigid temperatures and what you should do if you see an animal in distress.
They're cute and cuddly, but your pets don't know if it's too cold outside. It's up to humans to keep them safe. Dr. Edie Best at Billings Animal Family Hospital has seen what the cold can do to pets.
You know, we see rarely, but sometimes like frostbite, tips of ears, sometimes feet.
It's not just the cold that can harm your pet either.
We see a lot of sometimes irritated pads from snowballs getting stuck in there, frozen in their pads, you know, from being out, and sore feet sometimes from the salt on the road.
Dr. Best says limiting pet time outside will prevent your animal from getting hypothermia, frostbite, or sore feet from road salt.
Biggest thing is water, making sure they have thawed water, and then shelter from the wind.
If you see an animal in distress, Yellowstone Valley Animal Shelter Executive Director Trinity Chavez recommends calling Animal Control. There are 2 departments, Billings Police Animal Control as well as Yellowstone County Animal Control. Trinity sees about 50 to 60 animals dropped off at her shelter during the winter. There are steps you can take to prevent animals from getting lost.
Obviously, spaying and neutering your animals makes a difference because they're not off looking for a mate.
And if your pet does get lost,
we just always tell people microchip and ID tag your pets. A lot of people in the community will find a lost pet, and if it has an ID tag, they'll just work directly with you as the owner to try to get it back to you.
That way, pedestrians or animal shelters can identify your pet and get it back to you as quickly as possible. In Billings, Alina Howder, MTN News.
In 2007, a voter-approved initiative took effect in Montana that adjusts the minimum wage every year to account for inflation. Since that time, the minimum wage has never increased as much in a single step as it's about to on January 1st. The 45-cent increase at the start of 2022 compares to a 10-cent increase this year, a 15-cent jump in 2020, and a 20-cent increase in 2019. In September, Montana Commissioner of Labor and Industry Lori Esau confirmed the minimum wage would rise to $9.20 an hour. In her announcement letter, she said the reason for the larger increase is higher inflation. Montana's minimum wage is indexed to the Federal Consumer Price Index, which rose more than 5% from August 2020 to August 2021. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, a wide variety of items are more expensive than a year ago. But gas and other energy prices, along with vehicles, are particularly driving the rising index. Montana leaders estimate almost 9,700 people in the state earned the current minimum wage or less in 2020. Most of them worked in service occupations, particularly restaurants and retail stores. While this is the largest single jump in Montana's minimum wage since 2007, it's not the most it's increased in a year. In 2009, the wage rose by 35 cents an hour in January, and then another 35 cents in July when the federal minimum wage was increased. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Well, it's a little late, but most likely the best Christmas present for two lucky winners. Listen up if you bought a Montana Millionaire ticket or two, because the numbers are in. Those winning numbers are 233771 and 100451. Now this year, for the first time ever, the event has two grand prizes instead of just $1 million prize. Ticket buyers more excited than ever as tickets sold out in a record-setting 6 days. There were also two early bird prizes, one announced on November 26th for $25,000 and another on December 17th for $15,000. Now both of those winning tickets were sold right here in Billings. Lottery officials tell us this drawing is one of the highlights of their year.
It really is fun. I mean, today's a fun day, knowing that out there's two Montanans who are $1 million richer than they were yesterday. And then the day they come in to claim, that's a fun day, because you see how it makes a difference in somebody's life. It's always a great day.
For many families, a live Christmas tree is the centerpiece of their holiday celebrations. But what do you do with that tree after the holidays are over? Well, there are 10 locations across Billings and Yellowstone County where you can recycle your Christmas tree for a good cause. The recycling program is put on by Bright and Beautiful, a Billings nonprofit dedicated to picking up litter in the community. The trees will be turned into mulch and given out for free to other local conservation groups.
Instead of just sending them out with all of the plastics and paper that ends up in the landfill, here's a perfectly good tree that can be chipped down and be used to help our animals and birds in Yellowstone County. I think it's a no-brainer. The collection bins are set up at 6 locations in Billings, with a new addition this year being the bin at Clevenger Park on Bench Boulevard. Bins can also be found in Laurel, Lockwood, Shepherd, and Huntley. One group that regularly receives mulch is Montana Audubon Center near Norms Island. Staff use the mulch to spruce up walking paths and play areas.
It's wonderful, and we have, a decent amount of space that we use mulch in every year, so it's wonderful to get free mulch every year to cover the spaces where we need it. Mulch wears down and it breaks down and it's, gets smaller, so yeah, we need to add more mulch every year to the different spaces where we use it.
Another recipient of the free mulch and popular drop-off location is Zoo Montana in Billings. Usually the parking lot gets filled to the brim with donated trees. Zoo staff also use the mulch for pathways and landscaping, but the trees also provide some fun for the animals.
We actually come out and get quite a few of the full trees and we put them in habitats. They're great enrichment items for the animals. The animals like to play in them, hide in them. We actually build a cave out of them for our tigers every year, and they love that, which is always fun. But once we're done with them and they're done out here, they're actually mulched and used as wood chips throughout our zoo, primarily for landscaping and for our trails.
If you do choose to recycle your Christmas tree, remember to take all of the ornaments off of it first before dropping it off. The last day to recycle is January 21st. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
In airplane hangars like the one behind me is where you will almost always find Peter Graff, a retired Air Force and commercial pilot who also volunteers his time as a Civil Air Patrol member of the Missoula Squadron. And if that resume wasn't impressive enough, he is now a Wright's Brother Master Pilot Award winner.
50 years, you never had your certificate revoked. No. It wasn't violated that I know of. Me either.
The Wright Brothers Master Pilot Award is given by the Federal Aviation Administration to U.S. citizen pilots who hold an FAA pilot certification.
To make it as far as this man has and any other pilot that flies, there's 2 words: forward thinking.
The requirements to obtain this award are extensive, but the most important being that the recipient has exhibited professionalism, skill, and aviation expertise for 50 years.
It's quite an honor. I mean, I never thought anything about this. When I started here 51 years ago in September of 1970, and I just couldn't wait to fly.
And in his first flight logbook for his first flight, The letters MSO are etched in the book, marking his first Wheels Up flight right here in Missoula.
Right here, it was done right at Missoula.
Graf spent 28 years in the Air Force, 12 years flying commercial for SkyWest, and 22 volunteering his time as a flight instructor for the Civil Air Patrol Missoula Squadron, each bringing a new set of experiences and lessons with them. But the most important, combining his passion and purpose together.
It's quite an honor to have that and realize that I'm still not done.
Graf is now a permanent part in the history of aviation, and to this day he has logged over 17,000 hours of flight time. In Missoula, Hannah Hislop, MTN News.
Still to come on the MTN 530 News right here on Q2. Despite the spread of COVID-19 and the emergence of Omicron, several states, including Montana, keep pushing back against vaccine mandates. We'll have the latest on the legal battles right after this.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 530 News.
Welcome back, everyone. COVID-19 cases are on the way up again. Montana health officials reported more than 400 new cases today, and the death toll has now climbed above 2,900 with 5 new deaths reported. Now, the active case total once again sits above 2,000. Gallatin County leads the way with 159 new cases, while Yellowstone County sees another 67. There are currently 121 COVID patients in Montana hospitals tonight. Well, as cases of the Omicron variant rise across the country and around the world, the Biden administration continues to encourage Americans to get vaccinated. But as Joe St. George explains, the president's efforts to mandate shots are facing fierce resistance. Not just with legal challenges, but with new government policies in many conservative-leaning states, including right here in Montana.
The lines to get tested continue to get longer in this country. The United States is currently averaging around 214,000 daily cases and around 1,300 deaths per day. From the White House's perspective, getting vaccinated remains the best way to protect your health.
If you're unvaccinated, you're at a high risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19.
But President Biden's vaccine mandate and demand that most private businesses require shots or force their employees to undergo rigorous testing is continuing to face obstacles from state leaders. Vaccine challenge number 1, lawsuits over the mandates, mostly from Republican attorneys general. The Supreme Court, in fact, will hear oral arguments next week on January 7th regarding whether President Biden's order is constitutional. It remains unclear how the conservative-leaning court will rule. But while that legal fight has been brewing for weeks, another barrier is facing the Biden administration. Vaccine challenge number 2, unemployment benefits for the unvaccinated. Arkansas, Florida, Iowa, Kansas, and Tennessee now allow unemployment benefits to those who are fired from their job over refusing to get vaccinated. Lawmakers in other conservative-leaning states are expected to push for similar moves in the new year when state legislatures convene. Usually when someone quits or is terminated for cause, they aren't eligible for unemployment assistance. Now, unvaccinated Americans in some states have access to aid, undermining again the vaccine push by the White House. Many liberal-leaning groups say this is an attack on public health and are encouraging Congress to intervene to protect unemployment. However, a majority in the United States Senate currently oppose President Biden's vaccine mandate, including Montana's Democratic Senator Jon Tester, who has called it a, quote, burdensome regulation. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
Coming up next, it's time to hop on another weather roller coaster, but this time, one thing's certain, the cold is sticking around. Ed's in next with your full 7-day forecast.
The MTN 530 News continues right after this.